7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Coherent then than now.
I know. It's just... Welcome into another edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. Spike's got all of his noises cleared out of the way so that we can have a professional podcast.
Maybe.
Yeah. All bets are off in that spot.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no. Oh, no. He looks like he wants to do things. Loud things. Anyways, while he's gearing up his next flatulent, no matter where, not sure which side it's going to come out of. Are you going to throw up?
I might.
Oh, God. Dude, that's a bad
It
thing.
did look kind of like a serious one, yeah.
Are you, trying so hard to fart you're going to throw up?
No.
I've seen that before.
So this is the problem with my gastric sleeve surgery is that I still haven't quite figured out the right size sips of liquids that I can take. And I just took one that was way too big.
Oh, man.
And it hit me all at once. And, my stomach, which is very, very small, is just... So that was not a nice beginning for me.
I can't really speak for Tony here, but I think I speak for just myself, but probably Tony. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I speak for Tony here, that while you were under the knife, we kind of wish they would have fixed this region, your face. Too.
Yeah, no such luck. Sorry.
Oh, bummer.
My doctor does drive a Maserati, but that's only because he focuses here. If he started fucking with other people's organs and limbs,
He'd drive
and
two
everything
Maseratis.
Yeah, or he would get sued into oblivion. So one way or the other.
Was he like Dr. Nick from The Simpsons?
No,
He's like goes under the knife. He's like, the knee bone's connected to the thigh bone.
not that bad. He does look like he's about 22, though, so that had me a little worried.
Well, I feel like plastic surgery has made its way from L.A. to, well, we are in Vegas. It's another town where looking good gets you ahead in life.
I thought Vegas was an L.A. suburb. At least that's what I hear from everybody from L.A.
Starting to feel that way. I mean, when I drive home from work, I see California, as they do 85 past me.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm sitting here going, well, it's 65. Maybe I'll go 68, 70 just to be on the safe side. And they're like, you're not living if you ain't doing 90.
Yeah, no, I when I was in high school, I had a statey tell me, 9 you're fine, 10 you're mine.
Yep.
So every time I see a speed limit, I go 9 over.
Cop told me that one time. 10 and above, we start to look at
I've heard the
you.
same thing. Yeah, it's funny. We've all heard the same thing from
And it's
cops
like-
of different states.
It's like in that spot, why don't you just make the speed limit 10 miles higher and then just bust everybody who's 1 mile over?
Yeah, you could do that, but I think this way they have the option of keeping it lower. That way, they can get more revenue if they get bored and they want to start pulling people over.
Yeah.
And then they can they can look for things like not having a seatbelt on, not having brake lights and shit
Brake
like
lights
that.
busted out, and flat tire.
Although I will say that apparently in Metro, I don't know about other police agencies around, but there are cops that are assigned to do traffic detail, but other cops aren't required at all. Like, I talked to this one detective because he was in a class of mine, and on the way into school, I saw a bumper sticker that said, "I'm not speeding, I'm qualifying." And I told him, like, if I was a cop, I would pull that car over every time I saw it, just on principle. And he started telling me, he's like, I know cops that have been on the force 15 years who have never pulled a single person over.
Wow.
But I mean, wow. That's okay. Well, that was actually going to be my next question, is because I was curious if you guys believed, like, I've always heard the story of, like, oh, they got to hit their quota. Like, well, if somebody's been on the force 15 years and never pulled anybody over, they must be pretty behind on their quota.
Unless it's a departmental quota as opposed to an individual quota, I don't know.
Well, like you said, revenue for the city or revenue for the states, does come a lot. I mean, I'll say this. I've driven through some of the smaller towns in Nevada, and I've been busted in 2 of them. Caliente and Alamo, fuck off.
I love Caliente. What are you talking about?
But I don't mind the towns, but it's when you're coming on the highway and it says 55, and all of a sudden the next sign says 25, and the guy's right there, and you're like, well, and he's like, come to daddy, and you're like, fuck.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's just like I'm sure the towns are great. I mean, I like some of those towns too, especially the ghost towns. But yeah, you can't sit there and go 55, and then the next one goes 25, like three 3 skips down the road, and then the cop's right there, and you just got no shot. I call BS on that. But like you said, that's the way that these towns make their income. They definitely hit their quotas and then some, I would imagine.
Oh, for sure. And somebody once told me that speeding violations, wherever they happen, the revenue goes to the state, which is why if you take it to the courts, especially like the county courts, and get it knocked down to a parking ticket, they're more than willing to do that for you because then the money goes to the county and not the state. I've heard that. I don't know if it's true, but I have heard that.
I have gotten a speeding ticket here in Las Vegas as well. It was higher in the shitty town than it was in the big town. And I was, I wouldn't say I was doing the same speed. Anyways, hopefully we still have a listener or two left after that. They're like, I don't give a fuck about Nevada Highway Patrol laws. Anyways, we welcome you and we appreciate you tuning in. Let's thank the sponsors: 12 Ounce Sports Radio, ChaiPoker.com, Vegas Puckline Apparel, and Eric on the Web Productions. Speaking of apparel, this isn't really apparel, but Spike got us some stickers. That's exciting.
Yeah, so...
What do we do with these? I'm not putting it on my car.
No, well, you could. I mean,
should we tag the streets of Las Vegas with
Oh,
these?
there you go. I think that would work, although nobody would know what the fuck it says because they are kind of small.
All of the fine print is very, very fine.
So when somebody's driving by, they're not going to have time to focus in and actually look at what it says. But no, it was...
We should slap these around UNLV campus. I remember when I was in school, like, there was just shit everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Come see my band, Dog Walker, Autoerotic Asphyxiation Club.
Oh. Speaking of, where is Token?
Yeah, well, that was the thing, too, and I texted Token because since Super Bowl Sunday, I haven't seen him nor heard from him, with the exception of one small text, which said he'd be here tonight, which I'm looking at fake Token, and I'm looking at Spike, and I don't see Token Tony. So he didn't quite make it to tonight's recording. The word on the street is he's got himself a little girlfriend.
Oh.
So speaking of autoerotic asphyxiation, that might be what he's engaging in as we speak right now. So go Token. Anybody want to take bets on that one? Is he dead? Is he asleep? Or is he getting some ass?
I wouldn't put anything
What's the
past
favorite there?
Token
Asleep?
and some of his sort of likes that we may not know.
I'm going to say sleep's the favorite here.
If sleep's the favorite, I'm going to take getting ass as
he
my
hasn't
bet.
responded to you all
Getting
day,
ass.
though?
He responded last night when I said, "Hey, podcast Sunday night." He said, "I should be able to make it," and that is all I've heard from him since the Patriots won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Now that's assuming the getting ass line includes like him going out to dinner and like trying to wine and dine this broad.
Yeah.
Up to and including the actual act of coitus.
You guys are assuming it's abroad too.
Oh.
We don't know what Token does.
That is
in
true.
the shadows of his own room.
We're not quite sure.
I don't actually know much about what goes on
It is a girl, though.
in any of your
It's
private
funny,
lives.
but that is a girl.
Well, whatever. Whatever the case is, I think it's more of a wine and dine of said significant other
More
person.
wine and dine than 69.
Yes. If I had to take a guess that he's trying to lay the groundwork, and he's
All right, so I'll lay the
not worried
favorite
about
on
that.
sleeping at 2 to 1, at 1 to 2.
1 to 2, okay.
Getting ass from anybody,
Yeah.
I'll say is
The field.
plus 175. Dead 10 to 1.
All right, I'll if I were actually betting on this, I'd say
I take dead.
I would say I'd probably throw like
the
10.
best value.
I'd probably throw like $10 on wine and dine and like $5 on dead, just as a long shot.
Yeah, that seems fair.
But no, I think the problem is that if he is trying to wine and dine this broad, and he's like, oh, let's go out for like sushi or something, then they go to a place, she's going to be disgusted by how much that man
I was
can
about
eat.
to say by the way he eats and by how much he eats. Yeah, he's going to wine and dine, and then she's going to run for the hills. Anyways, so speaking of betting things, there is a new sport. Well, same sport, but there is a new league to bet on. And we talked about it, what was that, last week? And that's the Alliance of American Football.
Hey,
And
you got the acronym right.
I know, the AAF. I've been tweeting it all weekend. I actually watched 3 of the 4 games, and while I have to say, I went into it with an expectation that sounds different than a lot of people, I was pleasantly impressed with what I saw out of the AAF in, I guess this is what they call week 1, because there's only 4 games a week, so it's not like we're going to have Monday Night Football. And
Right.
so I like the Saturday, Sunday kind of feature. 2 games each day. and I like that it's on channels that I get.
Probably the most important thing, really.
It was. I think that was the most important thing. I mean, obviously the networks are not going to host them on their major, the NBC, Fox, and ABC, etc. But I believe CBS Sports, NFL Network, and going into the future weeks, they will be on TBS and TNT as well.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Hey, good for them.
So my favorite game, regionally, being from Orlando, the Apollos game was really good. It was more of a blowout, but actually even in a 26-0 win, the Birmingham Iron and Memphis Express game to me was relatively interesting because I got to see Trent Richardson make a comeback, and he scored a touchdown.
He did,
and he also fumbled twice.
Oh, did he? So I didn't catch a lot of that game, but that was the one game that I was able to watch probably a quarter and a half of, was that Birmingham game. And I liked what I saw out of Birmingham's defense, especially. Now, obviously, Christian Hackenberg made a kind of a mess of it.
Yes,
what was he, like 3 of 15, I think I saw?
He was like 3 of 8 in the first half with a pick.
Yeah, so, I mean, Hackenberg, obviously made things easier, but Birmingham
got pulled, too.
Every opportunity just, stopped him cold. It was actually an impressive defensive performance, and I love defensive football. Absolutely love it, which is why I was a massive fan of this Super Bowl that just passed. So I really liked what I saw out of Birmingham.
Yeah, and speaking for Token, I think his favorite team is probably going to be the Salt Lake Stallions. For no other reason than their colors are baby blue and silver, and they look like the Lions.
Ah, there we go.
But I was looking, at first glance, some of the uniform concepts are really cool. The iron, silver, and gray,
I like that.
And black was really cool. The San Diego Fleet with the 2 different versions of silver and the yellow, I thought was really cool. And then you have like the Arizona Hotshots, which I expected to be like a red, black, like fiery combination. It really looked like the University of Oregon, like a rejected uniform.
Yeah. No.
That's to me what it looked like.
And this is the thing. I grew up in a town where the town colors were green and gold. So this is what I'm used to seeing. It's still, like, ugly as shit.
Atlanta looked way too much like the Washington Huskies. San Antonio wasn't a bad uniform, just wasn't a good uniform. It didn't really do anything for me. They looked kind of like Rutgers. I thought the Memphis Express was pretty cool. They had like a red, white, and blue kind of thing. But I thought some of the uniforms looked really cool. And again, the uniforms aren't really a major concept of the success of the AAF. What is it? I'm going to butcher this a few times. A successful concept of the AAF. But if you want to get casual viewers, sometimes just a visually appealing game will make you watch it. And I actually thought the best game visually appealing to watch was Birmingham versus Memphis. 2 really good uniforms, in my opinion. And, my eyes were glued to it. And Orlando and Atlanta I thought were kind of weird. But that was my first thought process is the casual fan knows football, turns it on. I'll tell you this. When I saw – do you remember, I think it was 2 years ago when the Color Rush uniforms were a thing?
Yes.
And they were wearing them on Thursday nights?
Yes.
There were some games where I literally could not watch because I think one year the Packers wore all yellow, and it was awful. And I think one year the Seahawks wore the entire lime green. You just can't watch.
I think you're right. Yeah, I remember.
Some of those games I'm like, I can't watch this. It's making me dizzy. So to me, I don't know. Maybe the uniform concepts could use an upgrade. Obviously they're just throwing things on the field right now, but on the field, I thought the game itself was pretty good. You took away kickoffs, which were a little bit of a twist. All the teams start their drives at the 25-yard line, and you got to go for 2, which is always fun too, because that makes the game, especially from a betting aspect, a lot more fun as well.
Yeah, no, I haven't watched a lot. You guys are probably more familiar with what's going on than I am, and I'm probably going to take more of a negative approach, unfortunately. But when I heard this was coming out, this to me seems like another sort of attempt at football that I don't see how it has much of a chance to be successful. I think that, especially having this after the season ends, is going to be tough. I think that people have.
You don't think that's the perfect time? We're still in that itch for football. We get it a week after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I just don't think there's that many people that are going to want to see this. I don't actually see the amount of people and then the revenue projected, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, just my own opinion. I don't know. I don't think you're going to get the casual fan to care, but maybe. I mean, maybe it's possible. I think that there's people like us that are really big sports fans that like to sports bet. Certainly, you're going to get that. But I actually am not a huge fan of the rule changes either, especially the going for two. I think the great thing about the 2-point conversion is the fact when you are kicking PATs as well, and the PATs are more difficult now, you get that risk-reward factor, which I think makes it actually a lot more exciting. Always just going for two kind of downplays it and just makes it another play, to me. So I'm not a huge fan of that. The lack of the no kickoffs. I know that we're kind of eventually going to that with the NFL as well. I'm sure they'll implement that soon anyway. But certainly I think it brings the excitement level down a little bit, not having that extra play. But for safety reasons,
I got to say I disagree with that because a lot of the time, with the exception of Patriots football, it's a touchback. It's the most boring. It's turned into one of the more boring plays in the NFL.
But it could be a non-boring play. It has the potential.
But why can't I just get the offense on the field, shut down the commercial break? They've cut the commercial time. Their goal was Charlie Ebersol's goal was to have a quarter of the commercial time that a regular NFL game has, which is huge, in my opinion. I mean, yes, in the NFL, commercials are a big, obviously, moneymaker, and that's why there's so many of them, and that's why in a 3.5-hour game, the ball is actually in play on average. I'm only looking at statistics here for 11.6 minutes in a 3.5-hour game. So here, we cut out so much of that. Now, granted, the ball is not in play much more, but we have a little bit more active of a game, in my opinion. And you're right; it may not be. Spike looks like he's hearing ghosts.
No, it sounded like one of your dogs was about to throw up, which is what I was worried about since it's all carpet in here.
It's not like it wouldn't be the first time.
All right. As long as you don't care, then I don't give a shit.
Well, I'm more worried about you throwing up red Powerade on the carpet.
It has passed.
Yeah, we smell it.
My stomach is the Dow.
And again, you don't want to get too gung-ho after 1 week, but my initial thought process is it's something I would like to watch. I mean, the only thing I was looking forward to on the weekends, and which is kind of the hindrance for the AAF, is this may sound weird as a person who really likes football, talking to two people who really like football, was I was actually looking forward to the end of the season because I kind of get my weekends back to do things, honey-do lists, in our city, go out and play poker or gamble, or just go do things that weren't tying me to a television. So now watching this for 1 week, because I didn't have anything, I pressure washed the deck, and that was my weekend. I'm kind of in a 50-50 because this may have my attention for 10 more weeks.
And you're the ultimate, you are the best chance they have for a fan. And that's part of my issue, is that you're essentially one of the best chances. You're the perfect demographic. You're a huge sports guy.
The betting is also another aspect that's come into as well, because Ebersol even came out and said we're going to be utilizing gambling.
That's their only chance. Their only chance is the gambling aspect that'll keep people around. But
I don't know. I think there's a couple ways to look at it. I mean, as long as you're not watching Christian Hackenberg week in and week out. I thought the other quarterbacks. I thought this Perez guy who played for Birmingham came out of Texas A&M, not Texas A&M, the Texas A&M, but like a branch off campus. I think it might have been Corpus Christi or something.
Oh, maybe.
He actually was, I guess, the D3 equivalent of the Heisman, whatever they were just talking about it on the broadcast. He had won the trophy that was the Division III equivalent of the Heisman Trophy. The kid looked good. I mean, this kid could be on an NFL roster sometime.
Oh, he could easily be a backup for half these teams out there.
Yeah, I mean, yes, some of the product on the field, there was a lot of dropped passes by wide receivers.
Yep.
Some of the different rule changes that I wasn't a fan of was that you could only rush 5 people. Now, I understand that's fine if they want to put that rule in place. The problem I have is, how do you differentiate, okay, if there's a running play, do your guys, once the ball's handed off, then you can move forward? Or do you have to, I mean, how does that work? If you believe it's a run, are you allowed to move more people past the line of scrimmage than just the 5? Or I was trying to figure that one out, because run plays that looked designed and set up and executed like a run play, there were 8 guys in the backfield. And I'm like, well, if you can only rush 5, how do you know what if they run a play action, all of a sudden you've committed an infraction, which is actually, they called it illegal formation on the defense. They called any time you were rushing more than 5, which actually was a 15-yard penalty.
What the fuck,
I
really?
know, it was a 15-yard penalty.
Oh, no, that's too much.
Because he goes, illegal formation on the defense. I'm like, I've never heard of illegal formation on the defense. But again, this is a new league, new rules. So that was kind of a confusing one on my part. Is like, I would run play action all the time, and then they would be, they'd have 8 guys in the box, and they would have infractions every time, and I could just move the ball down the field 15 yards at a time.
I'm wondering if the NFL actually went to the AAF and said, these are rule changes that have been brought up that we've kind of thought about but never had the way to tinker with them. Institute them in the AAF. We want to see how they work.
It could be.
I'm curious if the NFL has done something like that.
I would, and again, I'm a fan of this AAF so far after 1 week. But I would instantly, if they brought in some of these changes, like only being able to rush 5 guys on a quarterback, no.
Yeah, no, that would
not NFL.
That would piss me off in the NFL. But I mean, this is like the SPHL with the NHL. Like the SPHL was the first league to do 3-on-3 overtime format. They were the first league to do the trapezoid.
Like a guinea pig league.
Yeah, to do the trapezoid behind the net, and that worked out, so that the NHL instituted that. Now they're doing the thing that a lot more people in the NHL are starting to talk about, which is the pick your opponent in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think that'll ever get to the NHL. I mean, never say never, I guess.
Well, I mean, it's Gary Bettman. Gary Bettman loves to stir the pot and try new things.
And I think it would be great because it would be kind of
they could televise it and make it like a draft show.
Yeah, could you imagine, like, okay, let's just say hypothetically the Lightning are the number 1 seed in the East this year, and they're like, well, we're really good against, I don't know who else is in the play. We're really good against Buffalo, so let's play them. And then Buffalo beats them, 4-1. Oh my God! Can you imagine this shit talking?
Can you imagine? It's locker room fodder.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, look, they picked us because they didn't think we could beat them.
Exactly. No, I love the idea. I hope that comes to the NHL. And as far as these rule changes go in the AAF, like I love the fact that they're trying new things. I don't love the impact of all of them. Like, I really don't like that you can only rush 5 men. Mm-hmm. But I like the fact that they're trying new things because the NFL, it always kind of feels like that when they try things on their own, it's either
they're
not
on a larger scale.
Yeah, well, it's not only that, but it's either not enough to fix the problem that they're trying to fix, or it's way too much. And they go completely the other way. So trying to find that happy medium, I think having this kind of experimental league is interesting.
Now, Tony, I know you talked about. All right, let's go back to your philosophy on the non-pass interference call. I can't remember your take on that. What was your take in the Rams Saints game, in the NFC Championship?
Well, it's one of the few times that I've actually considered. I know sometimes you wear a funny hat over there and go with the conspiracy land. I've thought about a minor conspiracy sort of thought branched through my head, but it was certainly a massively awful blown call.
So the AAF has instituted what they call Sky Judge, or the eyes in the sky, to use a casino term. It's the Sky Judge will be an additional official who is basically roaming the field through the camera that is, above the action, and can correct errors involving penalties, player safety, as well as pass interference inside of 5 minutes left in the first and second halves.
Seems like a good idea.
Yeah.
The only thing I think that most people would want, and I know this league is certainly striving for, is pace and keeping the game moving. I know that's one of their main benchmarks here. Everything to keep the game under 2.5 hours or so. So certainly, if you can do that in a quick time frame, obviously, that seems like a much needed bonus from what we see in the NFL.
But the great thing about this one is they do it real time.
Yes. Yeah. So
they literally made a call as the players were huddling and moved. They said, "Look, that was pass interference." They moved them up 15 yards.
Right. Yeah. No. Again, and I didn't get to see any of those calls be made. From that camera, from the Sky guy. But the idea and the thought, and having read about the league a little bit before. Last week or so, I had heard about this, but it's good to see that. Seeing it in action, I have not seen it. That specifically, that so far it seems to be working. So that is a big plus. No, that would be the thing I would probably like the most of this new league for sure. I agree.
Yeah, there are a few other rules designed for player safety, and any player lined up on the line of scrimmage designated as one of the 5 eligible players. So you have to be on the line of scrimmage. So your blitzes can't be designed or hidden. If you're on the line of scrimmage, you're one of the 5 eligible to rush, regardless of whether you want to or not. So you could line up 5 and rush 4, line up 5 and rush 3, but you can't line up 3 and rush 5. So that's kind of an interesting take. The illegal defense, that was what it was. Not illegal formation, but it was illegal defense, 15-yard penalty.
Wow.
It was, so there's a couple other ones. I mean, I'm not going to go down every single one of them, but I'm curious, I mean, especially since for some of the, actually for all of them, basically, I think they're put into cities where the NFL could sustain itself. So I think it's another, I mean, obviously Atlanta and Arizona are already, NFL franchise teams.
And San Diego was,
but we know that they can support a franchise. They just
Barely.
yeah. No, this is the
I
thing.
live in San Diego. They aren't really fans there.
But their stadium was, I mean, to me, I've been to San Diego 3 times. Their stadium was nowhere near the populace of San Diego. To me, it seemed like a chore. It's like the San Francisco 49ers are having trouble selling their stadium out. Well, they're fucking an hour away from their fan base. It's like, why do you do these things? Why do you build the Qualcomm Stadium or whatever they were calling it in its dying days so far away from your nucleus? I mean, Petco Park, the Padres are one of the worst teams, but they have a really good attendance.
Yeah, I mean, that's right in the heart of San Diego.
Once they built Petco, their attendance went up. I mean, they're right in the heart of everything that's going on. So, I mean, to me, Salt Lake's probably never going to really have an NFL team, but I think a lot of these towns are either very football rich in the history, or I think some of these teams are potential expansion spots as well.
That could be. And one of the things that I mentioned to you, Aaron, off air, is when the UFL was a thing, they only had 4, 5, 6 teams, whatever it was. And none of them did great except for the Omaha Nighthawks. And they were playing, I think it was the stadium where they play the Little League World Series, which seats like 20 or 25,000. Like, it's a good-sized stadium, and they sold out every game. And the fact that neither
College World Series, not Little League.
Or college,
but I know what you're saying.
I
was like, wait, Little League World Series in Pennsylvania? How did Omaha?
Yeah, no, you're right.
They traveled well.
But the fact that neither the AAF or the XFL is putting a team in Omaha is just baffling to me. And to be frank, before LA,
they still have an arena league?
I have no idea. I don't follow the arena league.
Because didn't Kurt Warner play for that team or whatever?
Maybe, sure. Yeah,
sure,
why not?
Yeah.
Is the Arena League still going on?
I think so.
The Arena League's still a thing, yeah. I think the teams are about half.
But, this is one of the things that I was wondering, and before LA got the 2 teams, I said, LA doesn't deserve a team, Omaha does. And they should have gotten at least one of those teams when they were moving, because they can fill a stadium with football fans to watch a good NFL caliber team every week. And if they can't get the NFL, they've proven that they'll take minor league football. And this seems like something that they would have been interested in.
And that could be a potential expansion if either the XFL or the AAF is moderately successful. And again, you and I talked about it. We were talking about this. I was watching it and I was like, I feel like this could be an adaptation or a rendition of almost like a minor league system for the NFL. I think if the NFL is smart, if either of these leagues or both of these leagues take off, because both of them are playing against the grain with the NFL should look to buy them out or look to partner with them in a sense of almost like a takeover before anything happens. Yes, they're probably not going to be as big as the NFL ever or in one day, but we don't know that. We can't predict the future. And the NFL at one point almost folded. So
yeah, and I mean, this is also an opportunity for people that don't want to play college football to go in and start playing professionally right away. Theoretically, I mean, they could if they didn't want to.
If it doesn't become a minor league system,
right?
You're probably correct.
If they didn't get the Division I offers that they wanted, they only got D2 and D3, and then the AAF comes calling, and they'll say, fuck college, we'll give you, I don't know how much these guys are getting paid, $50,000.
According to what I saw, they are signed to 3-year, non-guaranteed, $250,000 contracts.
Oh, okay.
So about $83,000 a year.
So
if you're on the roster the whole year.
Yeah. So that's that's for some people, that's going to be a better offer than a scholarship at a D2 school.
Sure, and I don't disagree with that. However, an 18-year-old playing amongst men who have been in the league, that is not a smart move.
Oh, absolutely not. It's going to be the dumbest thing that person has ever done.
It's different than playing basketball at a high school. Or playing baseball at a high school. There's no real contact in those sports.
But there are going to be people that want to do this. And
I'm sure there's going to be someone who will test that theory, or someone who will, not want to play college football or play 1 year. Like, let's just say, well, remember Maurice Claret?
Yeah.
He would have been a guy who, after the freshman year at Ohio State, said, I'm probably not ready for the NFL, but I'm going to go play the AAF so I can at least start earning some money.
Exactly.
Especially a lot of these guys who come from financial hardship. So I think that it could be an avenue. I would hope that high school players aren't considering this, but you never know. I mean, it's their life.
So I'm just curious to see how this all shakes out, because you're right. This is kind of the grand experiment for football right now, and I want to see how it goes, because we've seen.
I would imagine Roger and the rest of the cronies up there in Park Avenue were watching this.
Oh, I'm sure they were
very closely.
Because we've seen other leagues come and go, but
you say no, but I mean,
I don't think it matters. I don't know. You guys.
I think you take too far of a negative approach, because you can see
the UFL. The UFL was a disaster.
But the UFL wasn't funded or supported by NFL people in the NFL who were very successful. I mean, Bill Polian is the founder of this league. Hines Ward, who has really, really deep ties in, now both leagues. I'm saying you can't sit on the throne, the rest of your life and assume no one's ever going to challenge you. I'm not saying this is going to be the next NFL. And I cut you off and I'll let you go back. But I think that, and again, I don't want to get too far ahead of it, because I'm sure somebody sat in my chair and said the UFL is going to be the next big thing, the Arena League, next big thing. After 1 week, it looks really good.
It does, and it's getting the ratings. And the only thing I was going to add is that there is a direct competitor to the NFL that we don't hear about because we live in the wrong country. The CFL does incredibly well in Canada. They don't sell out every game, but they're doing well enough that they've lasted for decades, if not over 100 years.
Well, the reason they're not a competitor, and I understand why you would say that, is I don't believe anybody that doesn't gamble follows the CFL, unless we're looking at Johnny Manziel or ESPN showed us a highlight of, or they're telling Colin Kaepernick to go play in the CFL.
Right, and they
are a breeding ground. You're
absolutely
absolutely right.
But for guys that don't make the NFL, they'll go to the CFL. They'll play a couple of years, and they might get called back. We've seen that with guys like Doug Flutie.
Yeah.
So we know that this is a possibility. We know that guys can translate between back and forth. We've seen coaches translate between back and forth.
Sure.
It's just the fact that I think the biggest difference is going to be the CFL plays in the fall, the UFL played in the fall, the USFL played in the fall.
The XFL, the first time, played in the fall. They all tried to challenge the NFL.
The AAF is not challenging the NFL, and I think that is why it's going to succeed, because they're showing a lot of the highlights on the NFL Network. They're talking about it on the NFL Network. They're showing the highlights, and they're talking about it on the national
NFL
broadcast.
Network, if they wanted no part of this, there would be no way it's on the NFL Network.
Oh, of course not. So I think I'm more optimistic than Fake Token, which is probably the first and last time in my life I'm ever going to be able to say that, because he's probably the most optimistic person I've ever met. And I mean that sincerely.
But I mean, I ask you, Tony, this question because your viewpoint of this seems like a very centralized viewpoint. Because you don't care for it, you believe no one will care for it.
No. I don't care about me. It doesn't matter what I think. It's just
we know that
this is.
I think people are still craving the sport. I think it's the thing is it's access. The CFL it doesn't show on American broadcast television.
ESPN shows it occasionally.
Does it?
Some games, yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know when, but if it does, it's really
Fox has games too.
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's like the Fox.
No, FS1, FS2, one of the random Foxes. No, that's not.
Okay, and then fair enough. See, then that's something that maybe I need to look into more myself. These games seem to be a little more accessible, at least from my viewpoint, than CFL games.
No,
I felt like those games were only broadcast because there was somebody of great interest to American public. Johnny Manziel was one. Who else has gone to the CFL? Like you said, Warren Moon, but there's been other people who have gone to the CFL and created a buzz still back in America.
Right. Well,
USA.
I think it's not for the broadcasts that are happening now on ESPN. It's not so much the fact that it's individual players; it's the fact that ESPN and TSN are owned by the same company.
That's true.
So
yeah, that's another good point.
that could just be, it's Saturday night in like late August. There's no baseball games that they want to show, so ESPN just kind of cuts over to the TSN broadcast of a CFL game.
Another thing I think will catch the fans as long as they don't change this, and I understand player safety is a big thing in the NFL, but I think a lot of fans, at least what I saw on social media, I don't know if you guys saw the hit on San Diego's quarterback.
Yes, I did see that one.
Bercovici. The hit on him and subsequent fumble sent shockwaves through social media. They loved it. And I think that something like that, and I don't want to make it like an XFL version 1.0 where it's WWE Royal Rumble style, but that was a good, clean hit. I don't think anyone had a problem with that. But in the NFL, that person would have been locked up, jailed, fined, community service, and a $100,000 fine.
It was nice to not see a flag on that. That was one of the plays I saw, live watching, and it was nice to not see a flag. I'll say that.
I have a feeling something along the lines of, hey, look, we're going to let them play some football, may also strike an interest here as well. Because, I mean, look, you and I love Brady, but there's times where he gets calls that, come on, we're playing football here. Same with Aaron Rodgers. They have an Aaron Rodgers rule. They have a Tom Brady rule.
Yeah.
Because you can't touch these quarterbacks. Because I understand. It's a business. They're an asset. They're an entity, and they're worth lots of money. Now, if the AAF quarterbacks ever become worth that money, then they may have to look at a situation where those rules have to be implemented. But as of right now, those rules, well, the majority of the rules don't exist. I'm sure there's still a roughing the passer penalty, but that play specifically would have definitely been a flag thrown by every official and Sky Judge as well.
Yeah, I'm sure. But no, I saw the hit. I liked the hit. I thought that was good old-fashioned football. Yeah. Like, for anybody that's seen the movie Slapshot and they're talking about old-time hockey, I think that was old-time football right there, and I loved it.
Another one I liked was, actually, I don't know if you guys saw that, the only instance I saw of this was in the Birmingham-Memphis game where there was a challenge. Mike Singletary, who is the coach of Memphis, challenged a play. In real time, they called it a catch on the field. During the replay, it looked like there was a chance he may have bobbled or dropped the ball. But what they did in the AAF, in the broadcast, they actually have a ninth official, the replay official, who they have a camera focused in on him with microphone access. And you could hear his communication with the head official on the field. Hey, look, it looks like a catch. He does look like he bobbles it, but I don't have any angles to see. I don't have any angles to overturn the call. You literally were sitting in the booth while they were discussing this. Like, in the NFL, we don't get that.
Yeah.
We don't get that, especially in plays where we're like, oh, for damn sure it's, the call is going to be X, and then all of a sudden, Clete Blakeman comes out and makes call Y, and we're like, what did you see that made you change this? In one instance, he said, I don't think he caught the ball, but you ruled it a catch on the field, and there's really not a good angle to show anything otherwise, so we have to leave it as placed. I mean, I thought it was fantastic. They walked you through every part of the conversation and everything they were thinking, which I think is good, because I think a lot of NFL fans, especially Saints fans, all they want to do is have transparency and openness to say, in a situation like that with the PI call, I mean, if we could have been let inside why the officials thought it wasn't, other than them just thinking, well, the NFL's rigged, so they wanted the Saints or they wanted the Rams. But that's the thing. If you don't have transparency, your mind goes to different things. So I thought that was a pretty cool thing where they let you into the booth to see how the replay official analyzes replays. I thought that was pretty cool. So I think there's a lot of technology here and a lot of innovation here that could be successful for the AAF, and eventually, I don't know if it's going to get adopted by the NFL. I don't think the NFL can just sit on its hands for the next 5 years and let them become, something that, has a challenge. They're not going to challenge them straight up for ratings because they're not at the same time. But is there any point where it could become a situation where the NFL has to worry about dollars?
Oof, I don't know about that.
I mean, right now we have Steve Spurrier, Mike Singletary, Rick Neuheisel, and Mike Martz. Not necessarily the biggest draws, but known names in their areas where they coach that they're going to be draws. Could they start bringing in, with more money, could they start bringing in more talent, or could they start bringing... I mean, look when Herschel Walker moved from the NFL over to the USFL. It was all about money.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be not necessarily from the coaches. That's going to be up to the ownerships within the AAF.
I didn't mean the I'm just saying the coaches.
Yeah.
You know who Spurrier is. You know who Mike Singletary is. You know who Rick Neuhaus is. What happens when... I know you'll love this, but what happens when Josh McDaniels says, hey, I can go be the coach of...
Yes. He's gone finally.
All right, well, bad example, but what?
No, great example. Stick with it.
All right, well, my point being is what happens when a top offensive coordinator who, a team doesn't want to lose now has to face, another league potentially poaching their staff. I mean, Michael Vick is the offensive coordinator for the Atlanta team. They only scored 6 points, but
yeah, well, that's something.
I mean, everybody's going to go to these games. Michael Vick is a legend in Atlanta. I mean, they're chips that they can use to bring people in.
Well, and we're actually seeing this, believe it or not, in women's hockey because there are 2 women's hockey leagues, the NWHL and the CWHL. There have been talks of a merger, but the players are actually against it right now because they want the leagues to bid against each other so that they can give the most money. Now, obviously, the NFL, almost every single time is going to be able to pay a player, especially a star player, more money than they would be able to get in the AAF, and that should be true for at least the foreseeable future.
Well, yeah, but the league minimum in the NFL is more than these guys' contracts.
Right, but it's going to be, these guys that are like, if they're number 53 for the Detroit Lions, they're like, look, we're going to go 3-13 this year, you're going to make the league minimum and everything else. Or they can get a starting job in Birmingham. They say, we're going to pay you like $90,000, which is a lot less than what you're going to make in the NFL, but you're going to start every game and we're going to compete for the championship every year.
And if you play for a team like Orlando, the money goes even further.
Yeah.
No state income tax.
Exactly. So there are going to be people that are going to have to make that kind of hard decision. So, and I think it's only going to make some of the deeper roster spots more interesting to watch come later on.
That's something I didn't even think about. You're right. I mean, would you rather be... It's kind of almost like college football. Would you rather be the starting quarterback at Appalachian State, or would you rather be the third guy at Ohio State?
I mean,
in today's day and age...
Appalachian State, because Boone, North Carolina is fucking gorgeous and Columbus is a dump. But I get what you're saying. I'm just... That's
Columbus is a dump. What part of Columbus did you go to? Columbus is a beautiful city.
Columbus sucks. What are you talking about?
Really? You like Columbus? I'm surprised.
I like
I wouldn't call it a dump.
There's a shitty part of Columbus where the casino is.
Maybe that's
But the college, the
campus is nice.
The quadrant of where the college town
campus is nice. But the city itself, though, overall, I mean, it's okay, right?
I mean, all major metropolitan areas have shit to them. I mean, look at Las Vegas. You drive right and you hit a part you don't want to be in. You drive left, you hit a part you're okay with.
Columbus is Albany with AIDS.
I've never been to Albany and I've never had AIDS, so I can't really relate to that comparison. So. I don't really know.
I wouldn't say Columbus is bad. It seems very blah, meh to me.
I'd rather be in Columbus than like Baltimore.
Yeah, well.
Okay.
I would say Columbus. The college town part of Columbus to me is better than most of Las Vegas too.
I mean, it's hard.
I've only been there twice. But.
Yeah, but I mean,
just compared to Baltimore, though.
The campus is a Big Ten school.
I actually like Baltimore by the harbor, but I don't like to deviate.
Yeah,
I don't like to float.
The campus is a Big Ten schools. I mean, those are always going to be gorgeous. That's tough to compete.
I don't know. West Lafayette with all the factories isn't very great.
But I mean, Illinois kind of sucks too.
The rest of the city.
Piscataway, New Jersey's not a great place to be either.
Well, you got 3.
College Park, Maryland. College Park, Maryland's not very great either.
You like shitty-ass cornfields in Lincoln, Nebraska? I don't know. It depends.
Yeah, I mean, maybe some people do.
Maybe some do. That's fine.
Okay, my point being is would you rather be down on the depth chart at, say, in Alabama? In today's society, I mean, in exposure with social media and Mel Kiper being as knowledgeable as ever, I mean, he can find you wherever you're going to be. I kind of link that to this. I mean... I think if a situation where this Perez guy, like we were talking about, I think this Perez guy if he leads the league in the AAF and wins the title, I think he could be looking at people, or teams could be looking at this guy. You know, maybe, I mean, probably not a starter right away, but that's how you get your opportunity in the NFL. The question would be: is there ever a spot in the AAF if they ever become successful enough where players are coming from the NFL over to the AAF? Because right now, the way I read it is every single player from player 1 to player 53 makes the same amount of money. The quarterback makes the same amount as the backup safety.
Yeah, and that's going to be the question as to whether or not these teams can get enough money to start paying their players different amounts in order to attract somebody that they wouldn't normally be able to get.
The other question is what about guys at like the end of their career?
Yeah.
You know, okay, say Eli Manning, say the Giants draft Dwayne Haskins and say, look, Eli, you're done, you know, and he's like, I'm not done playing football, but every NFL team says, well, yes, you are. I mean, this is a spot where you could get guys who are like fading stars to come into your league as well. I mean, the UFL did it with Dante Culpepper.
Yeah,
He was,
and J.P. Lossman.
come on, let's be real. What team drafted J.P. Lossman?
Buffalo.
Okay. Yeah, you would know that, but he wouldn't know that.
No idea.
Do you know what college J.P. Lossman went to?
No idea.
That I have no idea.
Tulane. But see, that's my point. You don't know. Dante Culpepper is a bigger name. But my point being is they could bring falling stars into the AAF. Guys who are still wanting to play football. It reminds me of like the MLS does that now. They bring in like David Beckham, Wayne Rooney to play on their teams.
Right. Paid big though. I mean, you're gonna pay these guys 1/15 of their previous NFL contract.
No, but there's no rule that says you got to pay them this. If the AAF becomes more successful, meaning AKA more revenue dollars,
And they actually stick around for a few years. That's the other sticking point.
you know, I mean, you may not even need them to stick around for a few years. If they can fill a stadium for 1 or 2 years, hell, Michael Vick may be able to come back and play for the Legends.
Ooh.
That'd be a neat trick. From offensive coordinator to quarterback.
Player coach.
Yeah, there you go. I'm saying I can see a lot of different directions that this can go, and I think that the NFL needs to basically monitor this for a year, and if it's successful, I think they need to jump on it and adopt it as a minor league system or as some kind of feeding ground to the NFL. And I know you're saying it's crazy, this won't be successful, and you may be right, but like you said, why let something marinate and fester and build when you can just squish it when you have the chance?
Because squishing it costs money, and it doesn't cost any money to do nothing and to let it fold. Why would they want to spend money to buy out a league and then
because I think there's been enough
do something?
I think there's been enough trial and error that in today's world especially with the guy who's running at Ebersol. I mean, his dad was the number 2 with Vince McMahon of the XFL. They had a great concept and product. Mm-hmm. They executed it poorly. I think
there's been no success. The USFL was not successful. Arena League has been bouncing around. They
play while the NFL's in progress. This is the first league that doesn't. This league plays, and this league
Arena they don't play while the NFL is in progress. The XFL didn't. They played after.
No, the XFL played directly with them. Their first game was in October.
No, their first game was after the Super Bowl. This week after the Super Bowl.
I don't know about that.
They played the playoffs in April. I was in Chicago when it happened. But yeah, I mean, it was
played the playoffs. They folded after 2 weeks. What are you talking about?
No, they had the playoffs in April. They had a playoff game, that like $1 million game or whatever.
The old XFL, yeah, they did one full season.
Did they?
It was the UFL that folded midway through their 3rd or 4th season.
Oh, was that the one where Tommy Maddox won or whatever?
That was UFL. No, that was XFL. XFL, yeah, Tommy Maddox was XFL.
They did play a whole season. Wow, they did.
They started in February. Yeah, I mean, there's been some competition during the league and some that hasn't, and they're 0 for 4, 0 for 5, how many football leagues there have been. I'm considering the Arena League essentially 0 for because
they've tried a lot, yeah.
Revolving around. And it's all Northeast, I believe, now, because I think Chicago used to have a team. They don't have a team anymore. So if it's still around, I actually don't know. If
the XFL?
No, the Arena League.
Oh.
I don't know if it's
some of it is.
Some of it? Okay. I mean, it's just, the trial and error aspect when there's been a lot of error, and I don't know. It seems like a long shot. Certainly, it's possible. What you're saying is possible. And
over under 2.5 years.
It's a pretty good number, yeah. Because my guess would have been about maybe 2 years that they go, but 3 is certainly possible. That's a good number. Actually, I like the number a lot. I would probably bet the under, but I wouldn't be confident in it.
Yeah, I think I would go over, but again, I wouldn't be confident. I think they can. I think they're going to be stubborn enough to get to that 3rd year.
Possible. Good line, though. I like the line. So, and sports betting helps this a lot. I do think I'll maintain it. I know you disagree with this, Aaron, but I think sports betting is the key and the caveat.
I didn't say it was the. I wouldn't say it was. I wouldn't disagree with that. I would say a lot of people are looking for that, but I think a lot of these towns could fill their stadiums. I mean, week one, I think Orlando was like 22,000. I think filling is probably a tough concept in the beginning of the year. But like I said, there's a couple of ways they can go with this where I think they can keep it. I think they can keep it to a situation where it could be what we need after football.
Well, people like it and people enjoy watching it, then I hope it stays. I mean, if it's a good sport and it's fun, there's nothing against it. So I'm not opposed. Certainly I'm just making a prediction. But yeah, if it's a good thing, I'm all for good sports.
The Arena Football League has contracted 3 times.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. Apparently, for the last 3 years, their head offices have been here in Las Vegas.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
They used to be in Chicago. Wow, interesting.
They were Chicago for a while,
Yeah.
then Tulsa, then back to Chicago, then Las Vegas, and they just, starting last year, moved to Philadelphia.
Now they're in Philly. Okay.
Yeah, and they've gone from a high of 19 teams, and they are down to 4 currently, with 1 on hiatus and 2 planned for expansion.
And on
Ooh,
March
seems-
27th, the AFL partnered with DraftKings to bring back AFL football, AFL fantasy football.
All betting. It's all that matters.
Yeah.
What, is it all Northeast, Spike? Because I know they were kind of going towards that way, and I assume the headquarter move probably
Yes.
teams. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
It looks like Albany, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Cleveland, Atlantic City, and Columbus.
Literally all Northeast.
Yeah.
Literally a
Okay.
northeastern.
Yeah, and that's.
Okay.
I mean, that's cutting down on travel costs. That's keeping it in the Northeast. I think this might actually be more successful if they kept it in the Southeast. Give those SEC boys something to watch.
But money, though. I mean, how many people can afford to go and go to games? I think there's probably a little more.
I went to a lot of Tampa Bay Storm games as a kid.
Did you?
Tickets were like $5-10.
Oh, yeah.
That's the concept. Is if you don't gouge these teams, like these stadiums are probably like, here's your cost to operate a game or operate a season, and they're like, fuck, I can't offer tickets at $5 a piece.
Right.
Just like these AAF teams. We were looking at that last week at the ticket prices. I mean, $20 isn't terrible.
No.
And I think you said the most expensive was like $90.
Yeah.
For center field or center,
50-yard line. Yeah.
It's not terrible. It's a little high. I mean, if you don't want to sit on the 50-yard line, you can still buy the $20 tickets. But to sit at midfield for $90 isn't bad.
Yeah, and there are going to be people willing to pay it, especially if they put out a good product.
And I think if the NFL decides not to partner with this, I think keeping the regional teams, where most of your team is made up of players, like the Birmingham team was made up of a lot of Alabama, LSU's. Troy had a few on their team, and then a lot of the Texas teams. So it was made up of a lot of people who were players in that region. So, like, I'm sure a lot of people in Birmingham were like, well, let's go see Trent Richardson, see if he still sucks. And he was just average. I mean, he had 20 carries for 43 yards and a touchdown.
Oof.
It was like his NFL stats.
Yeah.
And a fumble, too. He had a lost fumble. But, I mean, I don't know. Again, it's 1 week. It's not time to jump too far one way or the other. But I think this thing, I'll make a bold prediction, which we do a lot here on our Picks and Chatters.
All right.
I'll make a bold prediction that this thing exists for I'll take the over on the 2.5 years. I think that this thing has legs. I just feel like this league, you're right. The XFL was one thing. I don't know a lot about the USFL. That would be your all's area of expertise because you're older than me.
I always use that, and I think I'm like a year older than you. Like,
How old are you?
33.
You're not 33.
Okay, I'm not. Yeah. 1985, yeah. Turning 34. I mean, it doesn't.
I'm trying to do math in my head here real quick.
This is not that.
That is
difficult
34,
math.
you're right. But Spike's like 80.
What?
I don't know. How old are you?
Spike's not that old.
I'm 39.
Okay. Well, you might know the USFL.
Of course you know.
Vaguely.
Donald Trump was involved in it, right?
Yeah, he was the New Jersey Generals owner, I think.
Yeah.
Steve Young went over there too. Was he?
Steve Young played for the Tampa Bay Bandits.
That's right. I knew they had a couple of big names that made the move.
Herschel Walker went.
Herschel, yes, that one I.
He wanted a new contract, and didn't. They played. Oh, they didn't. Oh, they were. Never mind. Okay, I thought the USFL was early '90s. It was early '80s.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know
JK.
you're like making these comments.
Sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I mean,
I don't know what you're talking- I've heard of it. So
I just thought it was early '90s, and so being 80, you said you were born '85. That you could have been 8 or 9 years old, but you're not. It was in the early '80s. You're right. So just kidding.
okay.
My apologies for the dig.
No worries. I'm all good. No, I don't know much about it. I just know it was a big time attempt and failed incredibly miserably. Like worse failed, I think, in regards to money loss in the XFL, from what I understand. But I don't know.
But but this league also played right when the NFL did, correct or no?
the USFL?
Yeah.
Yes, and that was the thing. The USFL, when they were founded, they wanted to be a spring league. That was the point, because they didn't want to compete with the NFL. And it was actually Donald Trump, when he took over ownership of one of the teams, said, fuck that, I want to compete against the NFL because we can put a better product on the field. And then 3 years later, it went bankrupt. So that's,
Our guy.
Not a great move.
He's our guy.
I want to put a better product on America's field too. I'm looking at all the people who played in the USFL. It's pretty crazy.
There's some names. There really were.
Oh, yeah.
A bunch of names.
Marcus Dupree, Reggie White, Jim Kelly, Steve Young, Doug Williams, Herschel
A lot
Walker,
of big names.
yeah, because they were willing to spend money to get talent.
Craig James. They made a contract offer to Dan Marino, but he didn't sign. And Eric Dickerson.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
Ambitious.
yeah, Herschel Walker signed. Donald Trump signed Herschel Walker to the New Jersey Generals. 3-year contract, $4.2 million with a $1 million signing bonus.
Hey.
Man,
Wow. In the early 80s. Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty strong.
Fun times for Big Herschel. Wow. All right. And he fought a little MMA the last 5 years or so.
He still looks good for almost, I think
Yeah, right, he
he's
does.
50-ish or something.
Yeah, he sure did.
Yeah, but I mean, you're right. Like I said, trying to compete week to week, the same days or even the day before with the
that's
NFL,
not gonna happen.
it's never going to work.
No.
But I don't know, I think this one might have legs. I think this one has a chance. I think this one has a chance to be, at worst, an alternative for us to watch that is going to be shown by major networks. And the major networks, again, they're not stupid. They're all about dollars. If these things aren't raking in dollars, they'll cut ties real quick.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And at best, I think this thing has a chance to be a popular sport or a popular. What's the word I'm looking for?
Entity?
Yeah, a popular alternative
There you
to
go.
the NFL.
All right.
Or, at best, it also has a chance to be the minor leagues.
Yeah,
The NFL.
I will say they're making one big mistake right now.
Wasn't Johnny Manziel supposed to play in this thing, too?
Maybe. I mean, that wouldn't surprise me.
I feel like he was supposed to be a part of this.
I think the mistake they're making right now is that they are everything, all the pieces of merchandise that they have out there now are way overpriced.
Oh?
Yeah, T-shirts are going for $30. Hooded sweatshirts are going for $75. Replica jerseys are $100, which is probably more online or on par with what the NFL is doing. But right now, I mean, we're talking about this as a startup league. This is a brand new thing. They should want to get their logos and their
Get
names
their product placed
on
everywhere.
people's chests while they're walking around, and they're not doing it. And I think that's going to be tough. Like, they have an infant creeper. I guess it's a onesie or something. It's going for $20. Wow. Kid's going to grow out of that in like 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's got to be cheaper.
I mean, it's just this seems ridiculous to me.
Yeah, and you're right. You're right. I mean, I don't know what the cost of an AAF hoodie would be, but I would imagine it's. I've done some garment work. I'd imagine it's in the $5 to $7 range. So if you could flip it for $20,
you're still.
If I can get a hoodie
profit.
for $25,
I'd buy one right now. I would be, while we're on air, probably mumbling my credit card number under my breath and getting it on tape accidentally while we are recording to order one of these things. With $75, I'm not going to do it.
The other problem was their app kind of shit the bed in week 1 too. I don't
did
know
it?
if you guys have tried to.
I knew that they were advertising the app during the games.
They were advertising the app, and the app seemed very cool. So I was like, all right, cool, I'll download it. And you can pick the plays, and you can predict what's going on. It just never worked. So hopefully they can update the kinks in that. They never addressed it either. So I wonder if they'll address it maybe Monday or something. They never addressed. I mean, people all over social media was like, the league's great, the uniforms are great, your app sucks.
I'm sure they're on it. as we speak. Gotta be. Yeah, that's a big thing this day and age for sure.
And they're also putting chips inside the helmets. They're putting chips inside the jerseys, the shoulder pads. They're going to have advanced metrics so deep that they're going to know, what side of the body an offensive lineman got beat by a defensive lineman.
Oh, damn!
Yeah, I was watching I forget what the documentary was called, like AAF, The Future Is Now, and it was showing all the different. They're putting chips in their cleats to track how much every player runs in a game.
Uh-huh.
So that's the stuff I would like. I love data, so that'd be pretty cool. But
so that would be a situation. Maybe Tony will come around.
That would get me excited. The dorkness in me, I'll emerge and I'll get excited. So,
They got to update some of these jerseys. I understand they were just putting a product out, but some of these look like they just. I'm telling you, the hot shots look like a rejected Oregon Ducks uniform.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that.
So let's see. You talked about the Apollos. I'm gonna see because that's going to be my adopted favorite team because that's the only city I've lived in of the 8. Unless Vegas gets a team, which would be cool.
That would be great. I'd go watch that.
The basic shirt's $20. That's not bad. I would get the basic shirt with the logo of the. I guess that's an archer.
I didn't see a basic T-shirt for $20. I was looking at the Arizona page, and it was $30 for the T-shirts, $75 for the hoodies.
Yeah, they're all $29, $70 and $75 for the hoodies. Yeah, their logo's pretty cool. It's got like the firefighter axe.
Yeah.
It's just their whole concept doesn't make any sense. And I'm not saying they have to mimic the Cardinals, but it just the green and yellow and orange doesn't seem to make much sense.
Very strange, especially since nothing is green in Arizona.
It's true. So, all right. Well, anybody else have parting thoughts since we just spent our whole podcast talking about?
Did we really? Fuck. I hit a parlay on this. I'm
actually 3-0 in betting. I've hit 3 money lines.
I took the 2 Sunday games with the favorites minus the points. I think it was 3 for Birmingham and 4 for Arizona. Both of those came through, so my parlay hit, which was nice. I didn't even realize it because I didn't get to watch the night game. So
this anchor hoodie's pretty cool for $60. I'd buy that Apollo's anchor hoodie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet they don't have my size, though. Let's see.
I think it's 17X.
It goes up to XL, yeah. Fuck you.
Wow. 17X. Post-surgery, there he is.
Yeah, I know. Post-surgery, still an asshole.
I am going to be the biggest, cockiest son of a bitch.
You better not be the guy on, like, social media boards going, hey, look, fatty, and I'm like... Let me find. Don't delete all your Facebook pages. I'm going to find one of you, and every time I find you on social media calling somebody fat, I'm going to be like, remember me? Oh, man. So, all right. So, I went 3-0. Yeah, I bet the Apollos money line, Hot Shot money line, and the Birmingham Irons.
You win in the NFL. You win in college. You win in. What can't you do? And
we'll see what happens.
He can't pick hockey.
Oh, okay. No hockey. All right.
Oh, believe me, he's fucking terrible at it.
All right, so you're bad at hockey, but look at that, football.
No, I bet some underdogs, and I try puck lines, and then when his 250 favorite comes in, he's like, "What the fuck's going on here?" Yeah,
what's wrong with you, idiot?
Yeah, what's wrong with you? You can't bet. My 250 favorite came in.
I like it.
Well, your plus 120 puck line didn't come in. You suck at betting. Find a new career. Okay. Oh man. And actually, just to continue with this bashing Spike thread.
Okay, please.
And how much was your parlay for?
$3.
Yeah, there you go. Shut the fuck up. So, all right. Well, that's it for us. We appreciate you listening in. I want to thank the sponsors again: 12 Ounce Sports Radio, ChaiPoker.com, Eric on the Web Productions, and Vegas Puckline Apparel.
There you go.
Goofed. I should write these down somewhere.
Well, we lost one, so I think that's sometimes it gets in the mix.
Yeah, I just assume they're gone because I haven't. VGK Pop Sockets deleted their Twitter
Fucking hell.
And I haven't. I sent them a message and haven't heard anything, so I assume that they're.
Yeah.
Not their check's not going to be coming in the mail. So, anyways, did we have anything other parting AAF? Can't wait for week 2.
I am actually looking forward to week 2, and one of the things I know that we had kind of in jest talked about going to like Arizona or San Diego to watch one of the games, and then like do a round of golf or something. Which I don't golf, but I'd still go.
You can drive the cart,
but like make a weekend out of it.
Well, I think I might be able to do you one better.
All right.
Pretty sure, let me make sure of this. Yes, the 2019 and 2020 AAF championship games will be played at Las Vegas.
Hey!
in Las
Sam
Vegas. I assume Sam Boyd.
It's got to be Sam Boyd.
It's not going to be T-Mobile Arena. Could be right in front of Caesar's Palace, maybe.
So the championship game will be here, though?
Looks like
Yeah.
it looks like it'll be at Sam Boyd Stadium. Both of them, yeah.
I'll go to that.
Yeah, we should. So instead of we'll make a staycation weekend where we play golf and then we pick up Spike's bitch ass all along the way. We'll come out. We'll go out and play. We'll come out and play Paiute, and then because it'll still be April. I think it's April 27th is the
nice.
2019, so the weather will be great.
Oh, there you go.
That'll be a good time to go.
Charlie Ebersol says, "There's nowhere else I'd rather do it. Las Vegas is the center of the universe when it comes to sports betting and the energy around what we're trying to build with the AAF."
Love it. Love it.
Oh, it's good stuff.
Good man.
Yep.
The game will match the two top teams from AAF's 4-team playoff. So I'm guessing 2 from the East, 2 from the West.
Makes sense.
And the stadium it'll be played at Sam Boyd Stadium. And they're going to expand it to 40,000. Boy, they're getting bold.
Why?
They think they're going to fill it up.
Why the fuck would they expand
bold move.
Sam Boyd?
Dude, if they fill that. All right, over under.
If they can fill 40K, that would be incredible.
All right, let's all take an over
We
under.
don't know what
All
they
right.
charge, but I mean that would
Let's see, over under 24,000 for the AAF conference title game.
Is that like total amount? That includes like standing, if they sell standing tickets or what?
Just whatever the announced
Whatever the
attendance is.
Announced attendance at 24K.
Depends on what they charge.
Just fucking right now. Just
I'm
pull something out.
under.
I'm going to say over.
Yeah, I'm going to take the over as well. I'm going to take the over if they keep these things relatively.
Especially
like the
if
prices that are
like
going on now. Yeah.
especially if like from the east like Memphis makes it, and then like from the west like San Diego or Salt Lake makes it. They're close.
If San Diego or Salt Lake makes it, I think it might.
Even
get,
Arizona.
I think it might get pushed over. I think part
Salt
of
Lake would be a good one. For
Well,
them.
who's the other?
That's a
San
wealthy
Antonio
area.
would be the tough one.
San Antonio would be tough, and their defense actually looks strong. So
They only give up 6 points.
yeah.
What a comment!
So I could actually see them coming in.
Well, Orlando's defense looks strong. Birmingham pitched a shutout today.
Yeah.
Arizona gave up 22 points. They suck.
Yeah, their defense sucks, but they can outscore anybody.
They can outscore anybody.
They're like they're the Chiefs.
I will tell you that I will say this. I know you guys didn't watch the games. Number 15 for the Hot Shots, Ross. I forget his first name. I think he'll be on an NFL roster next year.
Oh yeah.
So
All right.
that'll make my bold prediction.
There you go.
All right, that's it for us. We're out of time. We appreciate you listening in. We will catch you on the next one.